please introduce yourself to those listening.
Absolutely. So my name is Aron Vuijsje. That weird last name is because I'm originally from the Netherlands. And I am the VP Sales at Rep AI. Rep AI is helping Shopify brands to increase conversions and reduce the workload on the customer success team. And in the meantime, we also collect lots of insights and data about their customers that they can use to function much better and improve the overall website, the conversion rates, and the support that they give to their customers. I'm originally from the Netherlands. I live in Israel right now. I worked previously at Monday.com. I built their sales team from scratch and was able to grow with them from 6 million in ARR to 500 million in ARR and through an IPO. So that was a really fun journey. Then after that, I joined Doof. I was the VP of sales there as well. What we did there is, again, scaling the team, and we went through acquiring one of our competitors, which was a really interesting process. And as I mentioned before, today I'm at Rep AI. Really exciting, helping lots of Shopify brands with AI conversational chat, where we can really help our customers to get most out of their websites, which is today probably more important than ever, taking into consideration the struggles that merchants are going through with, all the tariffs and everything going on.
So what are patterns that you're seeing in sales and support of D2C brands now, kind of things that you see them struggling these days?
Let me first give the example in kind of a brick and mortar store, and then I'll translate it back into the website experience, right? Imagine that you just did a campaign where you spent thousands, 10,000s, or even more dollars to get as many people to your store. And now that people are coming to your store, your door is closed and you don't answer any of their questions, right? It's unheard of. It would never happen. But that's actually what you're seeing many cases on the website. A lot of brands are spending insane amount of money to bring traffic to the website. But then the moment that they land on the website, they're not actually optimizing them to help them and support them to the buying process. Every brick and mortar store pretty much has somebody there that's there to help your customers. But on the website, for some reason, we leave it out there. So I think that's one of the biggest things. It's like, you're doing 80% of the work, probably the hardest work, to be fair. And you can speak even more towards that as being on the marketing side, right? There's nothing harder than getting the right traffic to come to your website. So why wouldn't you then optimize that area and hold their hand and actually making sure that that traffic that you worked so hard on actually converts? So I think that's one of the big things that's coming up on like more the revenue side, the financial aspect, right? Where they're looking at, I have so many eyeballs on my website, but barely anything converts, right? It's very usual that we are talking to customers that have, let's say, between a 0.2% conversion rate to usually on the higher side, we're talking about 2% conversion rate. That leaves 98% of the people that are coming to your website that are not buying. So I think that's one of the big trends that is coming up a lot. And then the second side, what I would say is just the challenge of scaling the company, the website, the traffic, together with the amount of people that they used to need to be able to support that traffic. So like not having the ability to have enough support agents, which is leading to very slow SLAs, or in other words, leading to very slow responses to customers. And it's not like when you go to a website, it's completely different from an email, right? If you don't get an answer immediately, you're gone. Like that's boom, lost visitor, won't convert anymore, they're gone. They're not going to wait for somebody to respond. And I think that's one of the big things where you can lose a lot of traffic. If you give them the wrong response, they're gone. If you give a too slow response, they're gone. If you give a generic response, they're gone. If you send them to another website or another link, they're gone. So like having that ability to kind of directly be there on time, immediately respond in an easy way that really helps the customer to find the information that they need immediately is so crucial to be able to optimize the results that you're getting from the website. And I think probably those two things are the biggest parts. One, how do we optimize the traffic that comes to our website to make sure that we get the highest conversion rates and bringing the most amount of revenue? And also, of course, upsells, lifetime value, and all of those great things. And then the second part is, how do we create an engine that allows us to give that experience to our customers that we want, but that is also reasonable to scale without going bankrupt?
That's true. And there's, as you said, there's so much money, dollars that go into bringing as many customers as possible to the website, right? The acquisition spend. But then on the website, they're hitting wall. right? They don't have the right guidance, they just leave. Loyalty is not the
Exactly.
same as it was before.
Because there are so many options, right? And also, especially if you look at the younger generation, right? We're getting so, I'm going to include myself in there because then I feel better about myself. But like everything that you're looking at all day is like, super short content, which has a huge impact on our ability to focus. So like if every day, a lot of the people that are coming to your store are looking at their Instagram reels and the TikTok stories and all of this stuff that's coming by that like keeps your attention for 5 seconds and you're on to the next thing. That actually translates in the day to day, right? That's one of the reasons why so many people have problems with concentrating. That's one of the reasons why, especially in today's world where there are so many options, the problem is not finding something that's relevant. The problem is going through all of the noise to actually find what is the best products for you. And that can be really challenging, especially when you're looking at websites that have so many different products, right? I just want to have the ability to quickly say to somebody, hey, I'm looking for this type of shirt for this occasion. What are your recommendations? Give me a couple recommendations. Don't give me 3,000 options. I want to choose and I want to leave. That's kind of the situation for me. And what I also see in all of the conversations, that is a very common topic.
Yeah. And what are some of the misconceptions do you see about adopting AI or adopting, conversations, chats on the sites? Because, for us, it's obvious. Everyone should have it. What are some of the misconceptions that you're seeing out there?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I will start off with saying I think it got 1,000 times better than if you just go back a couple of years, right? Like obviously like ChatGPT changed everything. Like there's so many people now, it's rare to find somebody that doesn't know what it is or that doesn't use AI to some extent in their life. So it definitely became a lot more accepted than if just go back a couple of years. But there's still that stigma to it of like AI chat is bad, live chat is good. And I think kind of connecting to what we spoke about earlier, that's not the scenario. Like the scenario is you need to give good, reliable, accurate responses super quickly. And the truth is, in most cases, AI actually does that a lot better because they are immediately replying to what you need. They have so much context, both about the visitor that's coming to the website, knows every product by heart, knows exactly where you're located, what products you looked at. Like it has so much information that it actually, in many cases, will be able to give you a much better response than a human would be able to do. Now, put you in the position that the human that's sitting there needs to answer hundreds of tickets every day and is pretty much just clicking on templates to get through it, gives the most generic responses and is getting measured by, hey, if you don't close that ticket within 2 minutes, right, you are actually measured on the response time. So what we see here is it's kind of showing the customers that this can actually give you very human-like responses very quickly and very accurately. And I would say that's one of the big misconceptions. Like AI won't replace humans, but AI definitely gives us superpowers, right? And it allows the customer success team to actually focus on the things where you do require a human, where you do need to like hop on a call and kind of go through it, or it's something physical that you don't have an automated process for, or it is your enterprise customer that you just want to have a, casual type of conversation with. Leave all of the things that can be done automatically, very accurately, and super quickly to the AI actually helps you to give a much better service to your customer. So I think that's one of the really big things. You can have a live person that's slow and doesn't give exact answers, and it's going to be the worst experience that you ever had, and you're going to lose so many more customers than that you have a strong AI that actually knows how to be conversational and human-like. Doesn't mean that it needs to act like it is a human, but that it still needs to give human-like answers so that it feels like a free flow of conversation and not a drop down with chips that you need to click on to get the next response, and then you get 3 limited options. Like, you actually want to have the ability to have a conversation with it. And I think that's one of the big things that we're seeing, and one of the big misconceptions that it often starts with. It's yeah, but isn't it going to hallucinate? And yeah, of course, right? AI has a tendency to hallucinate, but that's why you're working with products that have clear boundaries and that are actually prepared for all of that and preventing it. The other thing that happens quite a lot is that they were burned by another brand that actually doesn't do it the right way, right? So they had an AI chat. They kind of automatically go through, okay, no, I tried this. It was terrible. Every question that I asked, it either sent it to the customer success team or gave completely irrelevant results. That's one of the hardest things to overcome because now in their mindset, that is AI chats. But the truth is, there's very many different levels of quality in regards to conversational AI. And if you do the research well and you find the right product, like Rep AI, of course, then it actually can be a really good experience. And like my recommendation there in general for platforms out there, and one of the things that make me excited to be part of this company is that focus of we know that we have a good product. We want to show you value before you need to give us commitment. And we trust enough in our product that we're going to give you a free trial to try it out. We're going to guarantee you results. And if not, we're actually going to return you the money, right? That forces us to make sure that we actually really have a good platform. It forces us to consistently improve instead of what a lot of brands do, which is kind of, sell the dream, lock them into a year, get them super frustrated but unable to walk out of the contract. And now, like, they're, at least for the next 3 years, their willingness to try out other platforms is going to be ruined because they had such a terrible experience. So I think it is really be upfront about what the platform can do and also what it can do. Allow your customers actually to try it out so that they can see in real time what good conversational AI can do, and really focus on the differences and what is most important for those specific customers. And that can really change it around completely. So I think that's one of the things that I really enjoy in my day to day. Like, you can have somebody that comes in, it's kind of, I tried this, it wasn't great. It sent everything to the team. I spent hours and hours on training the system. And then if it asked a question just slightly different, I had to do it again. And then when the first time that they work with a platform like ours that actually it's called KNN search, but that automatically takes every word, compares it to 1,000 different words, measures it on how similar it is. And because of that is able to understand the context, regardless whether you're asking, can I have a discount? Do you have something cheaper? Is there any promotion going on? Like, it doesn't force you to now write all of these out in all different ways. And when they slightly change the way that they ask the question, I have to do it again. So that aha moment when they see, oh, this is different, this works, it's actually conversational, it actually is smart and understands how to approach us. It's actually not interrupting the customers that would buy anyway. That's such a great experience. And I think that's really one of the things also that really stands us apart. Like, every other competitor out there, if they pop up, they pop up based on time. So it's not about the behavior of the customer. It has nothing to do with their buying intent or not ready to buy. It just pops up. And worst part, usually it's super generic, right? It's like, hi, can I help you? So, like, imagine you have somebody on your store ready to buy, right? And he's about to buy and something pops up. It's like, hi, can I help you? And now you have the opposite, which is the way that we work. Like, we actually spent 2.5 years to build a behavioral algorithm that, based on over 500 different data points, is able to recognize which one of these visitors are showing buying intent and which ones are about to leave the website. Everybody that's showing buying intent, we leave them alone, right? That's the last thing that you want to interrupt. But the people that are about to leave your website, which is direct revenue that you can actually add to your bottom line, those are the ones that we approach. And even if it's a relatively small percentage of those that you pull back in and actually help converting, that makes a huge impact on your bottom line. And that's really like what we're seeing over there. We're focusing on the revenue that's already lost. We're not trying to optimize customers that would already buy. We're trying to optimize for the customers that would normally leave your website, then engage them with really a personalized approach, right? Is it a new customer? Is it a returning customer? Did they already have something in the cart? Did they had conversations with AI before because they bought other products? And all of these data points create completely different journeys. If I can see that there's something in the cart already, we want to approach with like, hey, there's no risk to buy this, right? We have a refund policy. Or if I see that somebody's hesitant and it's a high level product, then I want to be able to tell to that customer, apology, then I want to be able to tell to that customer, right? We're making everything inside of the US. We use this very specific materials, right? You have the ability to test it out. And if it's not relevant, we take returns. And that's just one example, but it can be so many different examples like that. If they're looking at a product page and something is out of stock, you want it to either give you, hey, we can send you a notification when it's back in stock, or, hey, by the way, did you know that you have similar products that are available today? They're here, here, and here, right? These are things that actually really create value for customers the moment that they need it. And one of the things that we at RepAI look at is we're trying to recreate the experience that you have in a brick and mortar store that has a really good salesperson. Now, what do I mean when I say a really good salesperson? we all know this experience, and let's be honest, it's probably more often this experience than the right experience. You put one foot in the store, you didn't look at any product yet, and somebody's, how can I help you? Da, 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 right? And you're like, you didn't even settle down, you didn't see anything. You're like, you're not looking for someone to help you. You're just like, leave me alone. And like 80% of the time, you actually leave the store because you're like, oof, I don't have energy for this. But if you're in that store, you walk around, you see a couple products. I'm now looking at these nice shoes. You can see that I'm getting a little bit confused. You can see what I'm interested in. And right at that moment, the person comes in and says, hey, it looks like you're looking for running shoes. What is most important for you? Do you have weak ankles? Are you looking for like daily sprints, or are you looking for walks or hiking? Let me help you. Then it's actually a really good experience because they're coming in the moment that I'm ready and that I actually want to get some advice. And that's really the experience that we're recreating through Rep AI. It is understanding the journey of the customer and jumping in right at the moment that they want somebody to jump in, not aggressively popping in your face all the time. Like, I know for me, when I go to a website and I need to click out of more discount pop-ups than that I actually have the ability to see products, I'm probably going to leave that website before I actually looked at their products, because it's just so annoying. And you know better than anyone on the marketing side, every extra click, every extra time that you send somebody to another browser, every extra question that they ask you has a huge impact in regards to drop off where people leave. And it's like that in a marketing campaign. And it's the same thing with visitors that are coming to your website.
So let's switch about a topic that is so critical today, the tariffs, right?
Yeah.
You work with D2C brands. Most of them are impacted by the tariffs and the rising cost. It's impacting their growth strategy right now. What are you hearing out in the market?
I mean, it's tough. It's definitely, I'm not gonna sweet talk it over here. Like, they're definitely feeling the pain. Some more than others. That's just the truth. And it kind of just emphasizes what we spoke about before already, which means like we need to become so much more efficient, right? Everything gets scrutinized. Like, do we really need this? Is it adding revenue? Is it a cost, or is it a revenue creation type of platform? And then I would really put it in two buckets. Like, you have the one bucket, which unfortunately means the merchants that are really in trouble just because the cost became so high and it just doesn't justify anymore even buying the products. And then, you're in a really problematic scenario because there's not really a good solution for it. And then you have the other type of merchants where it's just really squeezing my margins. And those are the ones that we can really help, because the truth is, of course, if you're not selling products and if you don't have your website or your close your store, that like we are not able to help somebody that doesn't have a store or products. But if you're somebody that has a store and products, and that your margins are now being squeezed, and you can have a platform that actually optimizes every conversation from each one of the visitors that comes, that optimizes all of the support that your customers need without needing to scale your support team like crazy every time that you get more visitors, or need to hire an external team during the summer and then remove it again throughout the year, which is really a pain and a headache in regards to training and getting good responses and things like that. That's really where like Rep AI today is more relevant than ever before, because now we're really in that focus of optimization. And funnily enough, kind of if I look back to it in my previous career, right, when you're looking on the SaaS industry technology side, that was really like we had a whole period where it was just a boom. It was like, create more revenue. It doesn't matter how much money you spend. Just keep going, keep going. It's only about the revenue. And then, bum, all of a sudden the whole market turned and it was all about efficiency. And I think this is a similar trend that you're seeing right now here. It's all about efficiencies, not growth above everything. It is about having efficient growth. It is about having growth that's sustainable, that's scalable, that really optimizes everything that you can get from all the traffic that comes to your store. And that's where we're able to help merchants even more than ever now, because that's exactly what we focus on. And that also makes us a must have versus a nice to have, because if you pay me $5,000 and I return you $25,000, right? That's pretty much a no-brainer. And now if you put on top of that, I don't just give you a great return on your investment, but on top of that, I do all of these intangible things like giving great responses to your customers, giving them a better experience, giving you lots of insights about your customers that actually help you to even further improve the website. Even having insights inside of the platform that says, hey, so many customers are asking about this specific product. You want to probably promote it more clearly on your website. So that's what kind of turns it into that no-brainer, because if we can create more revenue for you than the cost of our platform, and then on top of that help you with five other things, now it is a tool that instead of needing to think like it's a cost that we need to cut, it is actually a revenue creating tool that is exactly what we need during these times.
Right. It's like what we hear a lot is that customer support that is usually, supporting customers and retaining them become a revenue center, right? They're now bringing money and not just spending money on more support people and such. What do you hear about that?
Yeah, I think that's, to be honest, I think that that's the right way to look at it, while simultaneously keeping in mind like what are important KPIs to track, right? So like, yes, of course, customer success team shouldn't only be tracked on revenue, right? They should be tracked on the satisfaction of the customer. They should be tracked on how relevant their approaches are. They should be tracked on all of these things that give the customer a much better experience and make them want to stay with you longer. But all of those things increase revenue, right? If I have customers that stay longer, if they buy more products, then the lifetime value of each of these customers actually becomes a lot more, which means that it will add to my revenue. If I give really good product recommendations that help you to find the right products and now actually buy them, that is creating revenue. So you still need to look at both of these sides. But for me, regardless whether you're on the sales side, you need to give a good experience to your customers, right? And when you're on the support side, you also need to make it a relevant business journey and make it worth the while of the company. So I think that's the right way to look at it. Like, I think customer success is not just customer success, especially in these type of scenarios. It's another way to create most value for your customers and for your business, which eventually usually will lead to more revenue, longer term customers, higher lifetime values, right? And also less churn, which is huge.
Right, exactly. And we look a lot at the data side of the product, right? And when I look at customer calls and sales calls, there's always this different aha moment when they see, oh, I can know that about my customer. What do you see as the aha moments? Like what excites them the most about the data that they can learn about that you see?
I think the two biggest things that immediately come to mind is one, why are customers actually leaving our website? That's huge. Like, it's a question that they're asking themselves all the time, and often before joining Rep really weren't able to answer. So that's a huge one. And then the second one that I would say is like, what are my customers asking that I do not know about? And I don't give them the answers on my website. I would say like those two are the biggest ones, because it gives so much information. Like, we tell them exactly what are questions that are coming up that you currently don't answer on your website. They never even knew that these questions came up because nobody was tracking it or showing it in a visual manner to them. And same thing, like I said, with reasons that people leave the website. They never actually had access to understand why. Especially the larger the store becomes and the more visitors they have, they don't have the capacity to every day talk to 3 to 5% of all of the traffic that comes in. Now imagine how that accumulates if you do that every single day with all of those visitors that are coming in, and then automatically putting insights from all of those conversations and the tracking of the behavior of those customers. That becomes extremely valuable. And I think that's also one of the reasons that I joined this company, right? It's in SaaS, it's a very common thing that everything gets measured, right? Everything gets measured, everything gets A/B tested. You know exactly what is your cost of acquisition, you know exactly what is the lifetime value of each customer, you know exactly what is your TROI, your time for the return on your investment, and all of these analytics. And I think that's the part from SaaS that you want to bring into e-commerce, right? Really understanding the journey, really optimize whether you want to call it the onboarding or like the journey from the first time that they see a commercial to when they come onto the website. You really need to map that whole journey and connect it for the customer so that when they come on, that they kind of get approached accordingly as well, which is very common if you look at the SaaS side. Then on the other side, it's also very different because it's much more emotional, right? Let's be honest, nobody's going to go through a demo to buy a t-shirt, right? So like, it's still a different way of how you communicate to the customers. And in general, like, you're buying most of these things on emotion and on feeling, where often in SaaS, it's a little bit like, it's still also emotion, but there's a lot of other things that are connected to it as well. But I think that obsession about metrics is just as relevant in e-commerce, and it's definitely, you see it more and more popping up. And I think that's also one of the things that like really excites our customers when they come to the call with us. Like they usually just think, okay, it's an AI chat. My experience with AI chats is that it's probably gonna allow me to understand where's my order, and probably change the billing address, right? Like things like that. But their experience is usually not, oh, I can actually have a conversation with it like it is a human, or oh, it actually gives me a crazy amount of data and analytics that I can all track. And what I just spoke about, those are the insights from our behavioral algorithm. I'm not even talking about the three different analytical reports based on sales, based on support, and based on engagement, where we tell you exactly, what are the percentages, the conversion rates, the traffic that we communicate with. And that kind of also connects back to a question that you asked earlier. The fact that we built our platform to be extremely transparent, that's what creates trust with our customers. Like if you have the ability in every single data and graph that you show to click into a button that's called conversations and see every ticket that the data is based on, that creates a really high amount of trust. And that's one of the things that you see often in other platforms. Like it gives the data, but it doesn't actually tell you where the data is coming from, which even if it is true, you don't necessarily trust it, and then let alone that it's not actually even true. So I think that's one of the big things in regards to how we focus on transparency. Like every single thing that we show you in regards to our analytics and data, we connect back to the ticket level where you can actually see these are all the tickets that we pulled this data from. These are all of the tickets that we based our conversion rate. Now you can still agree or disagree, right? That's always possible. But it's so transparent, you can see everything, and it opens really truthful and open conversations, and that creates a lot of trust in the platform and feeling comfortable with being able to move forward with that specific merchant. So I think that's another really big thing. Like the more transparent you are, the more trust it builds.
So with that, I would say, I mean, it's sometimes it's there's a wow about the data and everything that the platform is capable of, right? But some would say, wow, that's too much. Like I don't know where to start. It's too much for me, right? There's this method of crawl, walk, run, right? How do you start?
Absolutely.
Where's the crawl? How do you start? What do you see in terms of your process when your team onboards customers? Um, what's the best process of starting in a comfortable way and accelerating later?
It's a great question, and I think like the first thing, it really depends on the merchant that you're talking to, right? So like the first thing is like where do they need the help the most? Is it on the support side? Is it on the sales side, right? Like what is the main thing for them to fix immediately? Then the second thing is who's the person that I'm working with, right? Like sometimes you're working with somebody that has tons of experience with platforms and it's really easy to run through everything. And sometimes it's the person that really has like this is the first time that they heard the word AI, right? And then it's of course a lot more challenging. Now, what makes it easier for us is that actually for any of these larger merchants, we are giving them an onboarding specialist directly in their onboarding that actually does the majority of the work for them. And really the meetings that we have with the merchant is more to pick their brain about what is the experience that you want to create for your customers, and then we set up that experience. So that of course makes it a lot easier for them to actually see everything live without having that stress about how do I set it up and how do I work around these type of things. So that's something that we really focus on. Like I said before, like number one, we don't want merchants to need to take any risk. That's why everybody has the ability to try before they buy, have a trial, go through the process, test whatever you need to test. And then the second part is we want you to be able to try it. And more often than not, I would say 90% of the time, the issue is time, right? Like I know I need this platform, but I don't have the time to implement it. So for us to have that ability to say, listen, it literally only takes you 20 to 30 minutes a week and we do the rest, like that is a game changer. And that allows us to like onboard a lot of customers that normally wouldn't onboard because they're just too stressed with their day to day and the work that they have and everything that they have going on. So it's a lot of those things. Of course, it's also the UI and the UX of the platform and how easy do you make it for them to understand everything and how do you build out the platform, which are all things, of course, as well that we put a lot of focus on. So it really depends on how advanced the merchant is in utilizing tools like that. Where is their biggest pain point? How many complicated processes do they already have set up? How much does it connect to different types of integrations? And the more complex it gets and the more platforms are involved and the more integrations are involved and the bigger the organization is, the more often they'll say like, hey, let's start focusing on that revenue increase, right? I really want to see, okay, those customers that are about to leave the website that you can re-engage and still convert, let's start there. And then from there on, let's start adding all of those support skills from track my order and returns and everything else. And sometimes it can be exactly the opposite if it's somebody that you speak more with from the customer success oriented side.
That's true. It really depends on who you're talking to and who's responsible for this implementation, right? Which department, what's the goal, right?
Exactly. And how
Um,
many things are they testing at the same time, right? That also has a big impact.
Also, the amount of tech stack that they have and what they need to do. Yeah, definitely. That's very interesting. So, are you ready for a rapid fire
I hope so. Let's find out.
session? Okay. So I'll hit the first one. So the saying live chat is dead.
Well, it's kind of what we spoke about earlier. I would say, like, if you're talking about the old kind where you're waiting for somebody to give you a reply, gives you generic responses, and like doesn't actually help you with what you need, I agree 100%. If you're talking about the new one that actually has the ability to immediately give you relevant replies in real time, I would say we're just getting started.
Yeah. Okay. So more in your B2B alley. Cold outbound is over.
It's not over. It's definitely harder. Listen, that's like the downside of having so many AI platforms is that everybody knows everything these days, which means everybody gets bombarded with the amount of looking like, emails from, I saw your last LinkedIn post, or like pulling information from absolutely everywhere to automatically create a sort of outreach. It's not that, but I think sometimes it's really important to take that step back and actually simplify, right? We're all humans. You don't need to write like a 7-page summary to be able to send to someone. I'll give you one example, right? Somebody goes to your website and has a look, and you track all of that and you see it. Having the ability to say, hey, saw that you were looking at my website. How can I help? Actually gets way more responses than, hey, I saw that you looked at my website as a marketing manager that is working for this company that blah, 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 blah. Like, they're not even going to read that email. So I think the part is like, cut through the noise, right? Really go straight to the bottom. Don't have all of the small talk and it's, hey, nice to meet you. That is like, no, just immediately show value. Like, they need to be able, when they open up their phone and they don't even look at a computer to it, they need to open it up and be, oh, wow, that's relevant for me. Let me look into it. And the right way to do that is kind of being much more straight to the point. Where you want to use the AI is to really dive deep into what is my ideal customer profile, right? What are the customers that I can really help? Like, that's a great way to use it. Of course, it can also help you with drafting emails and get more information, but often it's kind of an overkill, where it actually ends up sending so much information that one, we're all getting used to AI. So like most people, especially that are in an industry that are bombarded by so many different people, understand that something very, in depth from your LinkedIn post doesn't actually mean that there's a human on the other side. And I also think that we're getting into a world which was very different before, but we are getting into a world that it's not so much anymore about is it a human or is it not a human? It's about is it actually giving me value, right? And if it really gives you value, who cares who wrote it? So I think that's the big part. I think, like we said before, I think AI will not replace salespeople, whether we're talking about SDRs or AEs. I definitely think it will help to manage a lot higher volume with a lot more accuracy and putting your focus much more on the strategic aspects than on the redundant type of work that right now we can actually utilize AI for.
Okay. So mid-market buyers need more demos, not fewer demos.
Nobody needs more demos. You need better demos. Like, more demos is not good for anyone. I think like listen, the moment that you're preparing your like 12 slide presentation, when you go into a demonstration, you already lost, right? Like, you need to get very lucky to have somebody on the call that is actually interested and patient enough to go to your whole slide deck. Now, maybe if it's a super technical, like enterprise product that has a huge implementation, right? There's always differences based on the audience that you speak with. But most people just want to, first of all, have a simple conversation that allows them to easily understand how is your product going to help me, and then from there on they want to see, okay, great, now show me your product. That again also create trust, because the moment that you had a lot of demonstrations with different vendors, and like now that you actually bought the tool, you all of a sudden see that these demonstrations that were offline and on paper actually is a very different experience than what you see in real time. Right, that's a bad experience. So like having the ability to actually show your product live and show what your product does live. You can do it with every product. We are in a lucky position that we have that ability with our product. That really creates more conversation and create a lot of value than go to a big slide deck. So I don't think anybody needs more demos. They need better demos, and they need demos about products that can actually help them. And again, that's kind of similar to, the visitors that come to your store that are getting confused because there's so many products, I don't know what to buy, I'm going to leave. It's very common, the same thing with products, right? Like if I have so many products that are attacking me, every day I'm getting like at least 5 to 10 messages about people that are like, I can give you 200 leads a month if I work with this and that company and blah, 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 blah. And it becomes just noise because you're getting so many messages, and the more outrageous their claim is, the less you're going to believe it. But if it's kind of a very simple message, just to the point from, hey, you know, we were able to get these amazing results with this specific customer. By the way, if you're interested, I can set up a quick reference call, right? That would be completely different for me because now it's actually, you're not just showing me the numbers, but you actually validate immediately that you are comfortable enough for me to actually speak to somebody that used to be your customer that went through that experience, right? That's already different. Now, on top of that, if you're telling me, I'm so confident that I can get you this, I'll let you try us for free. You only pay based on the results. Right now, it's even an easier decision. So I think like those things are really important. And it's cutting through the noise and making sure that you spend the least amount of time and the least number of demonstrations with the most relevant products and demonstrations that really focus on value, not features and functionalities. That's all things that you can do when you start implementing a tool. When you try to choose a tool, it's about what is the value that this platform can create for me and what is the cost that comes with this platform. Because the truth is, there's a cost in anything, regardless whether it is the price of the product or the time that it takes to implement or the other tools that you could buy if you didn't buy that tool. So there's always a cost. So like what you can mostly help your customers with is the value that my product can create for you more valuable than the cost that it is? And the easier that we make it for you to figure that out, right, the better of an experience you're going to have.
So, last question: as a B2B experienced leader, for sure, what are you excited about with the all the AI that is happening around us? Right, we're tracking that all the time. What's the most exciting thing in the sales, in the B2B sales industry?
Ooh, that's a tough question. Like it's a two-edged sword, right? Sometimes it just scares you about how quickly things are moving. I think it's kind of going back, like giving ourselves superpowers, right? Like that's really the way that I'm trying to look at it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at it, okay, like how can I utilize AI to put me in a position that it makes it easier for me to create more value for my customers? And that can be, my customers in the end is also my team, right? It is my team. It is the merchants, our actual customers in regards to our product. It's also my colleagues, right? Everyone around you. In the end, we're all kind of customers from each other. And there's so much that you can do through AI that makes everybody's life easier. I think that's really what gets me excited. Like, how can we find those ways that allows us to become superheroes and handle so many more, whether it's outreach or customers or marketing campaigns, by really having reliable data that we can lean on, that we can utilize, that can help us to really optimize the way that we work. I think that's what I'm really excited about. And then what scares me is like what happens when they overtake the humans.
Yeah, yeah, but they can never take the creativity and the relationships, right?
Yeah, I think like I mean I think again like it really creates like this insane level of where you can take your own creativity and then just multiply it by 1,000 because yes, you still need to prompt it with an ID, but then once you did that, you can say, okay, now give me 1,000 versions of this, right?
Mm,
And then you just like read through all of them. So
that's
I
true.
think it really gives you that capability. Yes, the grounding, and that's also, by the way, for me, whenever I'm using ChatGPT or AI for that case, I will write down the first version the way that I believe makes sense. Then I might use the AI to be like, okay, how can I get this shorter? How can I make it a little bit funnier? Although I would say that's still a weak point of AI. It's not the funniest in most cases. We'll probably get there at some point, but I wouldn't say that their jokes are amazing today. But it really allows you to optimize, right? Like, how can I make it more personal for this specific persona that I'm reaching out to? How can I keep it short and to the point and really focus on these specific things? But in the end, you still need to instruct it exactly on what you need for that answer or output to be really reliable. And that's where you see that platforms like us, and of course also many other platforms out there, they make that process much easier for you because they already did the work for you, right? If you start using Rep AI, you don't need to think about like, how do I get AI not to talk about my competitors, or how do I get it not to talk about sensitive political situations, right? Or how do I get it not to hallucinate and give me these weird type of answers? Like, that's really the benefit of people that build on top of the infrastructure, that they already thought about everything. Just like if you think about Salesforce, right? They thought about every integration that you can possibly create and connect to it. And that's what I see that will consistently improve a lot more. You're going to get a lot more of these tools out there that already did the work for you and that kind of create a plug and play experience versus, I'm going email by email, I'm putting it in there, I'm asking it to optimize like the next version, or it already exists today. It connects to your CRM, it connects to your email, it pulls out all of the information. It gives you valuable insights, kind of like what we do for Shopify merchants, right? On the sales side, that would be, what are the emails that you have the highest win rate from? Now, all you really need to connect is your CRM and your email. And then if those all connect well through the AI, it can immediately tell you, right? What are your emails that are helping you win? What are the emails that you're losing? What are the personas that you're actually seeing more value from and that you're seeing the highest win rate? Like, all of that data is really, really super valuable. So for me, I believe the human touch will always continue to be important. That's also one of the reasons why we're going to so many conferences, right? You want to have a face behind the product. I also believe that there's a different way that you look at things. Like in the end, like it's much easier as a human being to kind of sit there and think, okay, like, there are going through a really tough time. There is the situation with tariffs right now. I'm feeling what's going on, and I can play into that and actually being understanding that, yes, this is probably a time that we want to be much more flexible in regards to, having split payments or giving bigger discount to help them out, or even give them more free time so that they can actually get through this period by testing our platform. And then in the end, we're still going to be in their mind. And if you use only platforms for that, that often can be trickier because like the platform will do what you instruct it to do. And in general, it won't push back and be like, hey, Aaron, in all of my calls that I have with the customers, I see that, this seems to be a real big bottleneck. What do you think about X, right? And now we can strategize around it and think how we can optimize it further. So I think there's always place for our human creativity, for the human connection, for being able to like oversee it. But it will definitely reduce the number of people that you need to be able to get to better results. I think you're going to see a lot more small companies that actually make huge impact and results where, back in the day, not even that long ago, the only way to scale was to scale with people. And today there's so much with technology and especially AI that allows you to actually scale much leaner, and you're already seeing that. You're seeing a lot of much smaller companies with a lot less people inside of the organization that are getting insane amount of revenue already. And I think we're going to see that trend continuing, and you're going to see a lot more competition and probably a lot more smaller startups that work really efficiently, which also in the end means that we're going to see more products. And the more efficient the companies become, the less price sensitive products become. And hopefully that will also mean that things become cheaper versus more expensive, like it is today with some of the tariffs.
It's sometimes hard, but you're more efficient and you can have smaller teams.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's the real key is to strategize and really think about what is the work that doesn't require the team and that we can optimize
right.
and utilize AI and automations for, and what are the things that it's really important for me that it is somebody there. And like that kind of will allow you to see from, okay, this is where I really want to invest and make sure that they spend all of their time, or at least most of their time, on this high impact activity that really makes them great. And all of these other things that used to take 50-60% of their time that we can automate and still do in a really good way, let's automate that.
Yep, definitely. Okay, it was such a great call.
It was an absolute pleasure. And yeah,
Thank you.
looking forward to see you very soon.
Thank you so much. And let's do it every once in a while. I think it's great to bring the insights from what we're seeing out there to everyone,
I
to our
couldn't agree
audience.
more.
Yeah. So have a great evening. Thank you so much, Aaron.